Okay, I'm getting ready to paint stand here, and I just want to put it right out front. I'm not an expert painter, and I'm just learning, like same as you. But I hear it all the time how people say they hate painting, and I've actually grown to like it. It's finishes off your carving, and especially if it's in basswood. And these are some of the tools that this is a setup that I like to use. And I used the craft paints, no particular brand or anything. I just go by color. If it's the color I'm looking for, then that's what I buy. And it costs like $1 a piece or so, and cheaper than that on sale. And these rifflers, I usually go over. They're good for getting in. I don't really need them that much, but just wanted to show you that these are just little tiny files. You can buy them by the pack. That's a pack right there, and all different shapes to get in, and maybe get to a spot that you couldn't really don't want to go in with a knife and take a chance on messing up something. And always keep a knife around also for till the end, and that brush to clean things up. And I use a variety of paint brushes here, and this is probably, let me see, that one there, and this one here to start off with. I'll use these, and I paint the whole. Once I make up my skin tone, a very thin skin tone, I paint the whole piece completely with this skin tone, and then that leaves me just my way of doing it now. But that leaves me with a solid color palette to look at and to start with, and it helps me to see where if I have too much burning. Sometimes I'll burn a little bit more stuff, more than I want to, and I'll just go in there with a knife and trim it down, and maybe use those rifflers to get in some spots and clean them out a little bit, and try to carve as clean as possible to begin with, but it don't always work out that way. And a few other brushes, I'll go over these as I use them, but I just like to have them here, or when I do, put them all in a little pickle jar, and to keep this cup of water here in my soup tureen, and of course your study is always nice to have there too. It might not be totally necessary, but it's nice to have there. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take Stan in, and I'm going to wash him in the sink in hot soapy water, and use this stiff dental toothbrush on it, and that way it cleans up any little mess from the burning and my hand oils from handling it. And so I'll wash it down, and then I'll leave it wet. Not soaking wet, but damp, so when I paint it with these light colors, light washes, it's easier to maneuver the paint around a little bit. And I'm going to mix them up in this. This is my paint cup holder. I recycle these fruit cups that I use for snacks and cereal or whatever. And this holder I made a video of, a previous video of, if you want to make one of them too. But first thing we're going to do is wash him up. All right, another little tip here that I use sometimes is this is a skewer that you use, you know, like a kitchen skewer for making shish kebabs, and they're pointy on the end, or you could use a little dowel or something, and just go in and you can burnish some areas. Like if there's a little bit more, if it's a little bit sloppy in there, you can just push it in with these. So that's just a little burnishing thing. You can burnish with anything, but this is what I use, and just get in those spots and push it in there, and that way it makes it a little better cut. So okay, that's just a suggestion. And so I have mixed mostly this true ochre and some of this light red oxide a little bit until I got the color that I wanted for skin tone. You know, I like a suntan like skin tone. You know, not real fleshy looking. I don't like any of the flesh tones that are available. You know, already flesh tones. But I want to show you this. This is directly mixed, and notice how it just covers Ollie's shoes up completely, and you can't see the lines. So let's put a little bit more water in this and water this down. And I just use these acid brushes. Buy them by the bag, and Home Depot or whatever hardware store you go to. And you can see this after putting a little bit more water in it. You can still see Stanley's Ollie's. You can still see those lines through it, and that's still a little bit too but that's what you're looking for. But it's still a little bit too dark for me, so I'm going to put a little bit more water in here. And I suggest you experiment with this until you get it down to where you can just the minimum amount of color there. See that? So when people talk about a wash, this is a wash. It's where you can paint across the say printed material, and you can still read the print, but you don't want it to be like you're painting a house like this here. And this is okay in some areas, but mostly I want the very light that you can see through. And so get the picture. That's what I'm going to start. Everything's going to get painted in that much of a wash first, and then I take a look at it and proceed from there. So okay, so I'm going to take Stan in and wash him up, and we'll get started on putting some color on. I'll be right back. Okay, here's another necessity. There's a lot of paper towels to have around when you need them. Have them easy to reach. And I just washed them off with soap and water, and I scrubbed them with my dental brush. And he's still damp. You know, I took off most of the moisture with the paper towel, and I'm going to go ahead and just paint a coat of this over the whole carving. It's not, a lot of people dip them in linseed oil, and that does, I'll do kind of like the same thing, only linseed oil has a terrible, or has an odor. I mean, you want boiled linseed oil if you do use that system. You want the boiled. You don't want the normal painter's type of linseed oil. that they use for houses and stuff like that. You want the boiled. But anyway, we're not going to use that here. We're just going to use our basic skin tone. And just slop it on there with the acid brush I use for mixing. And after I get it covered, I continue to go over it with some plain water just to wash it down. You don't want it to be heavy colored in any one spot. I'm going to spread it out, and I do that with plain water. So see how you can see you can see them a little better now because of the with this paint on there. Now I'm going to just kind of wash a lot of it off. See, that's the one thing about painting them wet and using these acrylics. Yeah, you can wash some of it back off again and lighten up the color, and all that takes practice. It's just, you know, if you keep, it's just like carving. I say carve something every day. Just because the more you carve, the better you're going to understand your cuts and stuff like that. So you're not really, some of that color can stay. Now his face is going to be that skin color, and it's all adjustable. Being that light, being this light light wash like that, it's easier to see where you're going to start now. I mean, because all these are, the pants are going to be a different color, the sole is going to be black, the shoes are going to be some kind of brown maybe, and you know, the vest is going to be a different color, the tie. So all these different colors are these. You have the lines from the burning, and then some of them are, you want them to be visible somewhat so you can separate these things. But I already cleaned it off pretty good. I went and got, because I touched over here on the arm where you don't want it to be burned and all. So you got to go, there's a cleanup process after that. And then you wash it, and let's start with something like this. Burnt sienna is really one of my favorite colors, and I'm going to mix some up over here, and add a bunch of water to it. It's a little easier to pour out of these little bottles, and you don't want to, you want to trust yourself. Just go ahead and paint it on some printed material. See, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a see-through wash. And I guess I'm going to start off with one of these wedgy type brushes, and we put some color on his pants here, just to pick an easy spot to start. You know, because the wedgie, that'll go up in those little corners. That's why I like to use the skewed type of tip on the brush. You know, not really, you know, you might not even be able to see this on your computer or your phone, whatever you're looking at. I like to use a computer for watching videos and all, and I don't even have any data on my phone, so I don't use that. But just give them a little bit of color there, and I'm just going to keep doing this in real time. I'm not going to speed it up like I've been known to do in the past, and people complain because they can't keep up. So this is going to be a real-time tutorial. And so later on, you know, after you get some more of this color on, you're gonna have the option to add more color. So even though you probably it's hard to see there, once you get another color next to it, you're going to be able to see that color on those pants. So let me figure out what color I'm going to use next here. I'll just do his jacket. So there you go. Let's see what we got here. Okay, we're going to do the jacket here in raw sienna. It's a little darker this color, and you know, if you don't trust yourself yet, just go ahead and test it. Make sure you're getting a wash that you want, that you can see through, and that looks okay to me. So we'll just paint his jacket with the raw sienna. I might add a little bit more of this raw in there for just a little drop. Give it a little bit more color. Probably going to put another coat on these, so if you're thinking you can't see it, it is very light, so I just want that first coat on there, so I can get it covered there. So that's why it's good to save it in these paint cups. That way you're going to be coming back to it and it won't dry up like on a palette. On a palette, I still use a palette, and I'll show you what I use it for. What kind I use. I use a disposable palette. Okay, so that's the first coat on the jacket. And now in between some of these coats, once you got 2 wet coats on, you want to hit it with the dryer there to dry that in. I'm not going to dry the whole thing on the camera, but so you can just about see the difference in the colors there. And when I come in here and paint this vest, I'm going to paint that blue, and you'll start seeing the difference. And those colors are close together, raw sienna and burnt sienna. So once we separate it here with the blue, it'll be more visible. So hang in there with me. I just get these at the any craft store has these. They're kind of disposable palettes, and they're just kind of papery. And if you're just mixing up a little bit, like I'm mixing up a lot for the skin tone and the umbers, but I mean, and the siennas. But these are handy to just mix up a little bit off the top. And so safe. A lot of times I'll paint right out of the cap because he just got his little little vest there to do. And I'll just kind of keep. You can put some water on it and get it. You can actually, on these palettes, you can kind of see your finished color like that. You can just pull them out like that. Because it's going to be dark colored in the middle there, and just pull those out and. Actually, I'm going to use this this brush here. Is got a little pointy end on it. And just come in here and put a little blue on that vest, or any darker color that you like. You don't like blue? Use another color. But say. This style of brush here, I can get in and without slopping it over on the other side too much. So all I'm doing is putting a little. See, if I hold my hand on the carving. Don't free carve it, free paint it, because unless you got a lot steadier hands than me, you're going to paint something the wrong color. So this is, and then you can make it as dark as you want. It's like I say, I usually come back and touch up spots that I think I like to have darker a little later on. But see, now you can see his vest inside of there, and his jacket. I got plenty of paint here to continue adding color to that jacket. And always clean those brushes when you get done, and don't ever sit it down with paint still on it. It's worth the effort to clean it out and straighten it back out again so it doesn't get all messed up. So I'm going to dry this with the hairdryer a little bit, and then we'll proceed on. Okay, I went ahead and I added another coat to those pants because they needed another coat, and they're more visible now. And I'm going to go ahead and use that same color on his hair, and that's what Floyd's suggested color was. So you can start just painting his hair a little bit here. I don't try to go right to the hairline. I'll start back here, and then kind of you can push the brush up to that hairline, so you don't want to load the brush up too much, and then then you'll have running problems. And I'll try to hold the carving I don't want this color down here on the jacket, so I hold the carving this way so it does run a little bit, and it will. It runs on the same color. If you get what I'm talking about here. And his sideburn, a little bit behind his ears here, and I'm going to show you in a minute where I'm messing up right now is by let me paint this hair first, and then I'm going to show you finish painting the hair. See, those skin tones that I used on the whole carving are just getting painted over, and actually what I'm doing here now is a little dangerous, holding on to this carving by a hand, because I'm going to be smudging other colors on my someplace where I don't want them to be. So if you follow me and you watch the video, I made some of these paint sticks that just screw right on the bottom of the. I made a video of it, so if you want to make some up, I suggest you do. And kind of just screw that in there, and that way you got a holder here to hold that painting, hold that carving while you're painting it. So his hair, I'm going to let that soak in, and I'll look at it a little later, and when I'm done I'll always go back over and try to make adjustments in color. And so see right here, I'm looking at his face is see that first coat, that kind of like just washed right in. So I'm going to put more. I got my skin tone here. I'm going to put more skin tone on that. Later on I'll give him a little like rosier cheeks and stuff like that. And make the face look a little bit better. I just paint right over those eyes because I'm coming back with off-white to paint those, and doesn't hurt to get them. It's going to be a different color. See how this style of brush kind of lets you get into into spots without touching other spots. So there, he's got a little bit more skin tone. I'm going to let that dry or sink in, and clean this brush, because I use the same brush for a couple of different colors, so I always make sure I clean it in between. But now you can see his hair and his pants a little better. That jacket probably, maybe in the vest too, I might put another little coat on there, light coat, and we got to paint that hat. So let me hit this with the dryer real quick so it's a little easier to handle without smudging. Okay, Floyd's got his tie to be green, so I'm going to use some of this. It's called Sea Aqua green, and I'm just going to dab a little bit. I dabbed a little bit out of the cap after shaking it up, and I'm just going to use this paper palette here, it's disposable, whatever, and make that little bit. So now that brush is a little bit too loaded up, so make sure you just clean that brush off. You don't want it overloaded. You just actually want paint on the tip of the brush. And let's go in here and put a little color on this bow tie. And flip your carving around. Don't try to paint it all standing straight up, because you got to get into these underneath spots. I know I did one carving, and I thought I was done, and I'm looking at it. I said that looks pretty good. Then I turned it upside down. I saw the spots I missed. I had to go back and paint them. So try to look around the whole painting, like, and up here in this little spot here. Notice I gotta steady myself with this finger, and I'm leaning it on my cup holder for so I only paint, try to only paint what what I'm trying to paint here, instead of painting his neck green or something like that. And then I get a, ain't no way I can do a whole carving without smudging. Like right there, you see that little green over on his collar, and down here, this little smudge of blue on his pants. Just got to go back and clean them up, that's all. Don't try to mess with them right now, just leave them. When you're done, when you're looking at, before you put your matte clear finish, I see at the end, I'm going to put a matte clear finish on this, and it's going to make those colors more visible. And I know, so he's got a green tie, he's got a blue vest, and he's got a raw umber jacket, and a raw sienna jacket, and raw sienna, burnt sienna pants and hair, and a little bit more fresh tone there, so you can kind of see. Probably going to hit that hair with another coat, and then I'll just do that off camera. But I'm going to tell you that I did, and I did hit these pants with another coat already. So as I go, I'll just make those decisions, and try not to get it over painted, because like I was saying, it makes it you know, it makes it look like you're painting a house. You know, you don't want that, or I don't want that. Okay, so I'm going to put another coat on it off the camera, and you could continue on with your painting wherever you are, and I'm going to be right back anyway. All right, what I decided to use this raw umber. It's very dark brown on his hat, and I'll paint that headband a different color, probably red. And then I'm just going to take some right out of this cap, mix it on my little disposable palette, water it down pretty good, and you clean that brush off, and I like to keep this spray bottle here. It's like a regular garden spray bottle, and I might wet that hat down a little bit before I start painting on it, without really wetting the whole carving down. Just the part where I'm going to paint here is going to be the hat, and it makes this acrylic paint spread much nicerly. Is that a word? And don't load that brush up too much, kind of just, and like I say, start from far away from the face, because you don't want to paint the face this color, because it's just the hat color here. And well, I probably should have made up a little bit more, huh? You can always dip back in the cap, and oh, that's a little darker than normal, but actually it's going to be darker anyway. And I'm going to be putting doing a little dry brush technique after all this paint is on and dries. I'm going to do a dry brush on it. So the band part is going to be red, so we don't need to paint that, but we don't need to be so worried about getting a little bit of this umber on there. Like I say, you can see on these white palettes, you can see how thin you got it. It's as thin as you want it and all. Hold my finger on there to keep it kind of a straight line around that headband. And yeah, I guess that that's going to be cool. That's raw umber. But I did one of the darkest browns there is. And okay, I'm gonna like I said, I'm going to dry this. I'm going to blow dry that hat, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to paint the headband. So I'll be back. Okay, moving right along here. That's this is actually one of my favorite colors, red. It's the color I used on the Red-Headed Rascal's hair, and I'm going to paint his headband with the Holly Berry red. And he needs a very small amount. So, and I'll put my finger there. I'm leaning this on my paint cup holder, and the painting is not really as hard as a lot of people think it is. You know what I did when I first started painting, I really messed some stuff up, man. Matter of fact, let me see this. Excuse me, I'm looking at it. When I started carving, I used to I was carving these faces, and this is number 7, 8, and 9, and I tried painting it, man, and wound up sanding it off. So no matter how bad your paint looks, just keep at it, you know what I mean? And now, back then there was I didn't really have any computer yet. I wasn't computerized yet, so I didn't have the opportunities to learn online as much, you know. So I think that red, there's probably enough red on there. I'll just, down here where the burn mark comes up, I don't think it matters so much on a hat as it does on the rest, more visible parts of the carving. But how you like it? Got a red headband, brown hat, burnt sienna hair, and down here on this base part, I'm just going to paint that with the raw umber also, and then when I come back and dry brush it, it'll be different. But I want it to be a different color than the different color than the sole of the shoe, and want it to be a visibly different color. So down here we're going to paint it raw umber underneath the shoe, and I'll have to figure out a color for the, I know the sole is going to be black, but the color on the shoes are he painted his shoes black, so I don't know, I don't get along real well with black, so I'm gonna have to let me just come back and paint this this base part. Okay, well, I'm gonna paint the base, so I'm gonna give it a little spritz of water here, and then tap it off, and paint it with some raw umber. Because that looks more like dirt than anything. See where I smudged that red there. See, I'm holding my arms tight up against my body here to so it's pretty steady here. Got a steady thing to paint on here. And so I don't want to make it real heavy or anything. I just want to make it I don't want to leave it the solid with the wood color. There's a little, well, I just smudged that red on there, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. So that's the base. I think I'm going to hit that jacket with another coat. I'm going to dry this off and then I'll hit that with another coat and then I'll be back. But these are the decisions you have to make along the way, you know. But it's easy to get carried away and have it too thick. So that's why you start off with the washes. And you can always add another wash and without really, overdoing it. So, like I say, this is just the system that I found to be. I was more successful doing it this way than any other way. So I'm going to wash that coat one more time and figure out what I want to do with those shoes, and I'll be back. He's starting to look pretty good, don't you think? Starting to look painted. Anyway. Okay, I found a color here. This is a red iron oxide. It's an earthy tone red. And I'm just going to paint those shoes that color. It's not a real bright red, and it's not as red as the holly berry. But I'm just doing the shoes, so I'm just going to make a spot here and mix it up. Just keep adding water until you can pull it out, and it's like it's kind of like a wash. And also, I'm going to hit them with a spray again. Just to make that paint flow a little better. The paint flows better when it's wet and it's a water base. So you're going to have red shoes, but not too red. And I'm going to paint those soles black, so it doesn't matter that you get a little, if you get some on the soles, doesn't matter. Because they're going to get painted black. There'll be a separation of color. I like to try to make separations of color like this. It's going to be a visible separation is what I'm trying to say here. When you look at that carving. I guess that'll be good. Like that. He's got his shoes painted. They're gonna I think they're gonna be okay like that. And also, I already went ahead and took this it's an off-white buttercream color, and I painted his shirt inside of here. That's a buttercream. I did that off camera just to show you that he's got it listed as white, but I didn't want to use the Blanco bright white. I just used the buttercream. And okay, I'm going to get some black here, and I'm going to paint these soles black, and you'll be able to see how that separates them. From the red soles on the, the red shoes and the dirt. Alright, that's another thing I wanted to show you here is sometimes I use these optivisors when it gets down to some little little details. I'll put these on so I can see them a little better. So I'm going to paint this. I'm going to paint these soles black. I also moved down to a smaller size brush for this little skinny sole here. And I'm just using my little disposable palette. Oops, that's a little bit too wet there. But you all probably be better than me at this. Yeah, I just stuck that right in that black paint. So I say me and black just do not get along. I always wind up painting something black that ain't supposed to be black. Okay. Okay, that's pretty good for the soles. And let's see here where I painted that black where it's not supposed to be black. I can kind of just spread it out. This is all going to be dark colored anyway, so I can just do a light wash of black over that whole thing. And later I'm going to be doing a dry brush of like a white dry brush on here. So I don't want it to be, I want those soles to be black or black. Yeah, that's the main thing. So there you go. See, his shoes look a lot more with that color separation from the pants to the shoes to the dirt bottom base. And I painted that little section in there white, and I'm going to use that same buttercream on the eyes. I'm going to need my little teeny tiny brush for that. So we're moving right along here, and he's looking pretty good. So let me get prepared here again, and I'll be right back. Okay, the eyes here, I'm switching over to this little thin pointy brush here, and it's one of the few things, one of the only things really that you paint really with raw color right out of the bottle. So I just use a little bit on the tip tip of the brush. Not too much, and it's probably going to be hard for you to see this, but I'm going to start over here on this left eye. This is right eye. See that? I already smudged it. Just paint the eye itself. White here. Yeah, off-white it is. Sometimes I'll use the oyster color. Like, it's called like an oyster shell. Straighten that brush out and make it a little pointy to get back in this little crevice there. Just don't want to. Okay. Alright, back over here again. Okay, so I just painted the white part on there, and clean the brush off, and I'm going to leave it at that. So I'm going to come back, and I'm going to dry those completely. You got to dry that paint completely in the eyes before you come back with a pupil, which is, these are so tiny that I'm just going to probably maybe use a little toothpick, tap a pupil in there. Just dip it in. I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Okay, well, the round toothpicks are the better to use, and I'm just going to take the pointy part off of it with a razor knife here to about the size I want. Because he's got such little eyes, I'm going to just use this dark raw umber for his pupil. I'm just going to dip it right out of the cap like that, and carefully put that dot right there. Leave some white in between where the nose is, and you don't want to paint it up against the nose because it kind of makes them look cross-eyed. And just a little dot like that, and that's his eye. So you can see his pupil, and then I'm going to dry this off some completely, and come back with the pointy end of the toothpick, and I'll put a little reflection dot on there. But let me dry this off real quick. Okay, I dried those pupils completely with the hairdryer, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to actually show you what I'm doing here because it's such a small eye. But what I want to do is I'm just going to stick my point of this toothpick in a paint, and I'm going to touch these pupils. Wait a minute, let me start that over again. I think I got too loaded up there. If you get too much on there, you can mess up and smudge this eye out. So, all right, let's do it. Make sure everything is stable. And you're only going to just go right into that one spot and touch it. And go over here and touch it. And that makes the eyes look a little bit more visible. See what I'm saying? That little dot on there is like a reflection of light from the light that's around. Shines right in the eyes. So I like to do that to each carving that I do. So we're winding it up here, and you can go back and let me dry those white dots so they're done, and I won't bother you with watching that. Now this is when we got to look at the carving and see if you're happy with the depth of the color. Which the color on that hair, I think I could stand another shot of burnt sienna. So let's squirt a little bit of. Once you squirt it on there, you can see pretty much what the matte clear is going to do. So it's really kind of close, but I'm going to hit it with another coat of this burnt sienna, just to give it a little bit more separation of color from the face. See, that face is pretty close to the burnt sienna, I'll tell you the truth. Closer than I like it to be. But I'm going to mess with the face a little bit too. I'm just going to add some like rosier cheeks to him and stuff like that with a wash of this red oxide. So let's just darken this up a little bit, make it a little more visible. And then you can see that ear a little bit better. I might touch up some of that skin tone again too. And tell you what, while I got it here, I'm going to go ahead and just go over those pants again. Because it's starting to get it's getting there really. But I'm going to just go over these pants and just give it a little bit more color. And so I think it's better to use these washes. That way you can always come back and add just a little bit. Most of the time it just needs a little bit more color, not a lot. And yeah, see, that adds a little bit more, and separates it from the coat, which I might even put another coat on that coat of, let me dry this off. I'm going to put another coat, light washes is all we're using here. So I'm going to put another light wash on the jacket, and then we're almost done here. Alright, well, I just put another coat of wash on the jacket there because it was kind of fading out a little bit. And this is when you can make these decisions. And you know, I added a coat to the hair also, and after this dries completely you can look it over and see if you're happy with that, because you can always add another coat of wash, or I think it's looking okay the way it is here right now, because I'm going to spray a matte spray on top of it, and I'm going to do some dry brushing on parts of it, and I'm going to do that. But I think he's looking pretty good here, and hope yours is looking good too. So if you're one of my Facebook friends, post it on Facebook for me. Appreciate it. And anybody that's not, I wish you all good luck with your carving and your painting. So I'm still going to be here doing this. Do some of this. I'll show you some of the dry brush technique. I use a fan brush for that, but maybe not this big one. And I'm going to dry brush some that buttercream across here. I'll show you how that adds a little bit to your carving. Okay, so one thing I forget a lot is to put a little paint on these eyebrows here. Now I made this a little more thicker than what's in there, but just paint them on there, and that way larger carvings I'll do some carving on them, but this little guy here, you know, you can just paint them on, and you can go over it this way a little bit more, like that. So he's looking pretty good, but one thing I would like to do is take a red and this mix up a light wash of this red, very light, hardly any, and I'm going to give him a little spray on his face. Just a quick spray. See, and that's actually looking pretty good, but I like to get a little of this kind of like a little red on the end of his nose and up here on his cheeks, where people, you have a little red. It's hardly visible, but it means it really stands out. Gives the face a little color rather than a blank looking color. And then just, you're using a wash, so you can, you know, do it a couple times until he's got a little, and then down here too, around his mouth. And actually you go over the whole darn skin tone. That won't hurt nothing. And that gives it a little bit more color there. And I like that a little bit better. So I'm going to dry this, and then I'm going to do some dry brushing of the white. I'm going to use white, the Blanco white, around some of his clothing, and you'll see what that does to the looks of the carving. But let me get it set up here. Don't forget the eyebrows. Okay, for this demonstration, I'm going to use this fan brush. You don't really have to use the fan brush. I don't think you can use any brush. But I'm going to use the white right out of the cap here. I'm just going to stick the tips of the brush in there, only the tips. And I got this black piece of cardboard here just to show. Hopefully I can show you that you don't want it that wet. You don't want it that wet. You want it, brush most of it off, and then go back, and you can just kind of get some right on the tip, and that's it. And get it up here where you might be able to see better. And it just lays on the ends of your cuts. It's you just want it to, that's too much there. So it's a good demonstration of how it'll do if you load it up too much. So just get it off of get a little more off the brush, and just go around the whole thing, go around his clothing also, and it'll accentuate your knife cuts. I wouldn't go on his face with this, but I would go on, around his pants. Well, see, I'm putting too much on there, but I'm not wiping it off enough. So there's a good example of how not to do it. But you can see what I'm saying there. I don't know if I can do anything with that or not. Yeah, I might have to go back over that with a little bit to cover that. That's a little bit too much there. And but if you go over his jacket, just for the tip of the brush, just kind of, you're not painting it. You're just you can do his hair a little bit too, and that you can do a little bit on his hair and his hat. I'd say every place but his face, not his face. And if you use a dark piece of cardboard or something like this, it helps to let you know you're not loaded up too much. And you stay on the tips. Oop, did it again. But anyway, that's the dry brush. You can get carried away with it. I have gotten carried away with it. Now, I'm probably going to go back over here and make a do a little wash over that before, but I'm not going to do it on camera. I just want to show you here real quickly about the looking for my okay, here's the toothbrush. what I did on these buttons. Just do the same thing I did with the pupils on the eyes. Just go in here and touch it. Dip it right in the black cap of the paint and then just touch it. And then you'll have the 3 buttons. So I'm going to see if I can I'll paint that smudge there that I did off the camera, and then I'll get it all ready for shooting it with a matte clear, and that'll be the finish of the painting video. So hang with me. Alright, here's another little trick. I'm going to give this face a little squirt, just one little squirt, and tap it dry. And we take this midnight blue, it's a deep midnight blue, and I'm going to just dip it in the cap and make a wash of it with it's hardly anything, just mostly wool. You can really see through this, and do a little bit around his eyes, and you'll notice that it kind of makes that eye more visible, and spread it out a little bit so it's doesn't look like you painted that one spot. Just spread it out around those eyes, and it'll make them stand out a little bit more. I mean, it's probably hard to see here in this video, but let me see if I can get it up here close. Get this camera to autofocus. It was doing pretty good there. But anyway, I'm going to dry this completely, and I did take some more burnt sienna, and right here where I splashed on there too much white, I went over that and kind of dulled it down a little bit, and that's something to be careful with. So make sure you only get the tip of that fan brush and just hit the edges of of your cuts. It brings out those cuts. A couple spots there where I might have got a little heavy, but I don't think it's that much concern. Once it gets I hit it with the matte spray, which I'm going to do here for you right now. But I'm going to dry this up really good first. I'm going to hit it heavily with the hairdryer until it's totally dry. And actually, should really leave it sit overnight, but I'm too impatient. I want this done today. So here we go. Dan the man. Okay, what do you think, Izzy? I'm done painting on it, I think, and I'm gonna just go ahead and hit it with this matte finish here, and see how it turned out. Put this little brown paper bag here so I don't have to paint everything. No overspray. Just do some quick wispy passes on it. You can get up there and do on the top. hold it upside down and make sure you get up in those spots also. And just don't lay on that button, just kind of give it a quick little spritz there. And that's gonna sometimes I use 2 coats, but sometimes one's just fine. And then he's got a sealer on there. That's a sealer, and like up here on the top, it usually it'll suck it in a little more because of that end grain, and you might have to hit that hat again, or let it dry completely, and might have to put a second coat on. I'll let him dry and take a look at it again here. Okay, I guess he could use a light shot, another light shot. Let's just give him another light shot here, especially on his face. It seemed like that. Don't want it to get too glossy or anything like that. So that's the final stand right there. I will you don't have to do that dry brush part if you don't like that look. I don't do it on every carving, but most of them I do. So I'd say good luck with it. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day. Carve something every day.